Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to continue my segments on the Chaos Space Marine Codex. Today I'm going to speak about Noise Marines. Now, one thing that's different to my format, which you may or may not notice, I don't have the book in front of me. It's got lost somewhere in the warp, I guess, so we're going all digital today. So I've got like the codex, and everything all out for me here. So yeah, Noise Marines are an interesting one. Sort of the end of the sort of, god-specific units, if you will, or at least sort of Legion god-specific. And that I'm talking about Khorne Berserkers, Plague Marines and Rubric Marines, which I've already covered. Noise Marines are of course the last one. Noise Marines are an interesting one, simply because I would say in this edition, especially at the beginning, they obviously came out and they were really, really good. Emperor's Children has seen quite a few good advantages in this codex. Certainly with sort of stratagem synergy and psychic abilities, they can become quite dangerous. But that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So how this works is that I'm going to look at the codex, look at the stats of the unit, along with sort of some of their weapon loadout and special abilities. I'm then going to speak about sort of loadout and recommended ways to kit out the unit, along with Legion traits that might be applicable, psychic abilities, and stratagem recommendations that can go with them as well. So with that, let's have a look at the Noise Marines. So Noise Marines, their stats are movement 6, which is kind of slow from what I thought for Slaanesh unit, but there you go. Weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, what I'd expect from standard Marines. Strength and toughness 4, which again, standard for Marines. 1 wound, which is fine. 2 attacks for the Noise Marines and 3 for the Champion, which I didn't quite expect, but if you do look back in the lore, they do, well, certain ones do provide, sort of pride themselves on their sort of combat prowess. So it kind of makes sense that they do have a wee bit extra attacks, but you can hardly complain with that. Leadership 7 and 8 on the Champion, and a 3+ save. So kind of standard stats for a Marine in power armour there, but you do have an extra attack on them as well, which is kind of always nice to have. They are armed with bolt guns, bolt pistol, frag and crack grenades. However, the unit has a plethora of upgrade options to choose from. One thing I'd say more than any of them that they can have is that they can replace their bolt gun with a chainsword or a sonic blaster. Sonic blaster being quite an iconic weapon for the Noise Marines. One Noise Marine may replace bolt gun with a blast master, which is an awesome name for a weapon. If it's 10 or more, may have 2 blast masters. Noise Marine Champion may replace bolt pistol and bolt gun with an item from the Champion equipment. And the Noise Champion may take a Doom Siren as well, and you can also have an Icon of Excess. So in terms of the weaponry there, there's quite a few specific ones there. The one I'd note more than any of them is the Sonic Blaster, which is essentially a 24-inch gun, Assault 3, Strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage, but units hit by this weapon do not gain the benefit of cover. So straight off the bat, instead of like bolt gun where you get 2 shots if you're within 12-inch range, this gives you a good 3 shots apiece with a threat range of 24 inches, which can be pretty nice. So yeah, the Sonic Blaster is a pretty good weapon in that one. The other key one I'd say as well is the Blast Master, which is has 2 ways of shooting, similar in a way a lot to a missile launcher. Single frequency is 48 inches, heavy D3, strength 8, -2 AP, and D3 damage, and the varied one is 36 inches, assault D6, strength 6, -1 AP, 1 damage, and both these have units do not gain the benefit of cover, which again is not bad. Cover's not as important in this edition, though if you're facing arms like Admic it's super important, but it's still always very nice to have to sort of mitigate those sort of units that are very, very entrenched. In terms of special abilities that the Noise Marines do have, they've got the standard Death to the False Emperor, which is always kind of nice, but they do also have one other key one as well, which is Music of the Apocalypse. So this one has a lot of errata, just discussion on it, so I'll go into that in a minute because I've brought it up as well. Each time a model in this unit is slain, it is driven to make one last attack before succumbing to its injuries. Do not remove the slain model yet. After the attacking unit is finished making all of its attacks, the slain model can make a shooting attack with its ranged weapon or throw a grenade, even if the model's unit is within 1 inch of an enemy. The slain model is then removed as a casualty. So it's sort of a last ditch effort sort of blast of attacks, usually from your shooting attacks into the enemy. Now there was a couple of main discussions in this one that they clarified how Music of the Apocalypse works. So when it is slain, the Music of Apocalypse, you can choose any sort of visible target. You don't need to choose the target that did slay them. If slain, Noise Marine is within 1 inch of an enemy model, can it shoot? Can they target the unit that is within 1 inch? They can, but only with the pistol. So it sort of follows the same rules as when shooting, that you can't fire your bolt gun or sonic blaster when you do fire, but you can choose to shoot with your pistol because you can fire them within 1 inch of an enemy model. If several Noise Marines are slain in the same attack, can they each use Music of the Apocalypse to throw a grenade? Yes, they can all throw grenades. So you can't throw that grenade at the unit that just killed you, say, in combat, because you can only do that with your pistol. But certainly if a unit is very close to you and does rain down fire on the Noise Marines, you can pick out them or another one that is not within grenade range, but not within 1 inch, and just start hucking grenades at them, which can work out quite well. How well it'll work, considering it's short range grenades, it's going to be situational, but can be pretty good. If Noise Marine is slain in the fight phase and he uses Musical Apocalypse to shoot an enemy unit and subsequently gets a hit roll of 6, does Death to the False Emperor ability work so they get another attack as well? Yes, in this situation, make an extra attack against the target on a hit roll of 6+. So obviously, say in fight phase, use Musical Apocalypse to shoot an Imperial unit in subsequent fight phase. You can activate, Death to the False Emperor, which is kind of nice. As far as I know, I think that might only be with pistols. I would have to check Death to the False Emperor on that one. But yeah, that's really, really handy to get that extra one. Whether it's actually, it works, and well, if it's in the fight phase, that means it must be with your pistol only, because you're targeting that one. But yeah, that can work out quite well. If it's in the fight phase, for instance, you're slain, you want to target that unit with your pistol, activate Death to False Emperor. Suppose if then you can actually shoot in the fight phase to then shoot another unit, and it is the fight phase, activate Death to False Emperor with your Sonic Blaster if it's another unit. That should work as well, which can rack you up attacks. So say, you die in the fight phase, you lose 5 Noise Marines and there's still 2 or so left. You can go, right, I'm going to bolt pistol them in the fight phase because I lost them there, activate Death to False Emperor, or Sonic Blaster into a unit further behind and Sonic Blast them as well. Let me know what your thoughts on that one is, but that's what they said in the FAQ, which basically, if it's in the fight phase and you get a 6 to hit, it activates Death to the False Emperor with this shooting attack. Very strange, but also a lot of fun. So yeah, bit of a mixed rule on that one, but generally it can work out quite well to give you that last ditch effort on sort of shooting attacks. So yeah, let's go into sort of loadouts for the Noise Marines in the best way that I think that they can be kitted out. Noise Marines are an interesting unit to say the least. For one thing to take into consideration, they are cheap. They're only about 2 points more than your regular Chaos Space Marine. And with that you get an extra attack and the Music of the Apocalypse rule. That's sort of the main difference between their weapons, other than the upgrades, the weapons and stats as such. So not bad as a sort of upgrade for 2 points a model. Certainly Music Apocalypse does give you extra shooting if they do perish. However, in terms of weapon upgrades for these guys, and what ones I see as the best is that their sort of go-to is the Sonic Blaster. Does add quite a bit of points to the model, each one you do add 2, but upgrading the bolt gun to the Sonic Blaster is 1, iconic, and 2, it sort of does give you a much bigger threat range without having to get close to get more shots, and you get more shots naturally as well. Assault 3 is nothing to sniff at, especially at 24 inches. This means you can threaten, units that are further away than normal standard Marine can with a bolt gun. As said, the problem with this is obviously the expense. If you are going down that route, then if you have a unit of 10, it does add on nearly 40 points, I believe, which can be quite dangerous when you are, putting in so many points to just get something that does not have an AP as well. How I see if you are going down Sonic Blasters, which I still think are quite useful to go down, is that because you've now got that 24-inch range threat with quite a few shots, is that I would definitely sort of either put them in cover if you are going against a force that is, for instance, going to be mass horde, orcs, tyrannids, etc. that might be, or demons coming down your, coming straight at you. Then you may want to think about sticking in cover and just, firing shot after shot. If you are going against things like Tower Ashmalatan, which may sit back, they may not have units that come forward, then maybe stick them in a Rhino to go forward. But generally, I kind of want my Sonic, basic Noise Marines to sit back with their Sonic Blasters, and anything that sort of goes in the midfield, just blast away at them with vast amounts of shots. And if they die, then cool, you're in cover, get an extra cover maybe. They die, then throw out Music of the Apocalypse as well, which is kind of handy with your Sonic Blasters. There's also a few tricks you can unleash with Noise Marines Sonic Blasters, but I'm going to get ahead of myself on that one. I'll go into that near the end because there is quite a big trick you can do. Let's talk about the Blastmaster. A unit of 5 can have one Blastmaster and a unit of 10 can have 2. And Blastmasters are generally quite solid weapons. They've got 2 firing modes, one of which is, both of them work sort of the way of a missile launcher would. Where a missile launcher would get 1 shot, the Blastmaster gets D3, but it only causes D3 damage, where a missile launcher does, I think, D6. So in terms of 1 shot, not as good, but you do get random amount of shots. But if it all works out, you can cause much more damage, and you ignore cover as well, which is kind of handy. It also does have its sort of frac sort of one as well, which is basically, I think it's D6 shots. It's only 36 inches as opposed to 48, but it does have a really good -1 AP and also ignores cover. So if you are putting out sort of smaller shots, it's generally a really, really good weapon. Certainly a weapon I would consider just about every time I'd field Noise Marines is bringing a Blastmaster as well, whether you are moving forward, in which case you can use its variable sort of loadout, or you could go, or you do have the heavy option as well, to basically cause more damage, work as a missile launcher within the unit. We can also consider instead taking chainswords over Sonic Blasters. Well, firstly, take Khorne Berserkers, do yourself a favour, but seriously, we need to consider this well. They do have sort of 2 attacks apiece, which makes them a lot more efficient than standard Chaos Marines, which is kind of handy. And if you do get close to your opponent and do get killed, you can also consider throwing out grenades like there's no tomorrow as well. Ultimately, this is very cheap and maybe worth it because it does keep them cheap. You get, lots of attacks on them. I think 3 apiece if you've got chainsword and a bolt pistol, etc. But I'm still in favour of the Sonic Blaster. It is more expensive, but it does give you a really good unit to put down midfield damage. Let's talk about the champion. So, you can take the standards of Chaos Champion equipment, which is all fine. But you can also take a Sonic Blaster, which, ain't a bad option. It just means the unit is kind of consistent, and it means they all sort of fire at the same range. But you can also take a Doom Siren, which is basically sort of a top flamer. It's got, I think, -1 AP and does a bunch of other stuff. But ultimately, when it comes to the Doom Siren, let's have a look. Doom Siren, so it's extra strength, -2 AP, and units are hit automatically, and they don't get cover. So it is quite deadly, but it is incredibly short ranged. And it's very, 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 very expensive. So the Doom Siren's quite nice, maybe as an anti-charge deterrent in a wee bit of ways, but ultimately I'd say to make sure the unit is getting the best off, if I'm going to hunker down with Noise Marines, then I am definitely going to probably take a Sonic Blaster on him instead. simply so the unit does sort of synergise a bit better, and you know, he gets his shots off, because I just think of Doom Siren, unless you're going combat. If you're going combat, then yeah, sure, bring it. But I generally want to see them all putting out all their shots at sort of even range, with the Blastmaster obviously helping as well. Lastly, I'll talk about the Icon of Excess. Yeah, very nice. You're going to be playing against Imperiums. I'd probably maybe leave it. It's not that expensive, but leave it if you are going to be going down the Sonic, you know, sort of shooting loadout for Noise Marines, because I just think that if you're going to be in combat, it's not as ideal, though you do get 2 attacks apiece, and so that it does mean you might get more attacks. But if you end up going to chainsword variant, definitely bring it. But if you're going for ranged variant, don't bring them. So yeah, if I was to talk about sort of my preferred loadout for them overall, I'd like a 10-man squad with Sonic Blasters, with 2 of them with Blastmasters. It just gives you sort of a unit you can hunker down, threaten mid-range, and then 2 weapons within there as well that can target units, or they can do multiple shots as well. So generally, I think that's probably the best way I'd go with it. There is justification for a 20-man squad when you start thinking about stratagems, because there's a lot of fun to be had in there as well. I'll talk about that in the stratagem section. Legion traits that help them. Alpha Legion, hidden in plain sight. Your opponent must subtract 1 from hit rolls that target units for this trait if they are more than 12 inches away. Yep, very useful for Noise Marines. Any debuff, you know, to hit them is going to be really ideal. If I field them, then I'm going to go Sonic Blasters, hunker them down, put shots out, and hopefully make it a harder time for my opponent to hit me. So yeah, Alpha Legion I think is an absolute sterling use for this unit here, because you're sort of your mid-range shooting, you're still going to get, you know, shots off at 24 inches and benefit from your from the Alpha Legion rule, so it's -1 when out with 12 inches. Renegade Chapters, Dark Raiders. This allows a unit with this trait to advance and charge in the same turn. Why does this work so well? Well, with Sonic Blasters, they are assault weapons, so you can move, advance, fire 3 shots, and charge with your 2 attacks apiece as well, just generally throwing a lot of dice out. At the end of the day, we are talking about infantry charging, you know, so Corn Berserkers do that pretty well. I can't stress more than anything. I feel really bad for keep bringing up Corn Berserkers, but still there's something to be said about, for instance, taking Sonic Blasters, moving, you know, moving, advancing, and then shooting all your shots, and then charging as well. It does give you a plethora amount of shots, though you do suffer -1 to hit because you did advance. So whether it's ideal or not, I would have to play with it, but generally, you know, not bad as well, just to put out a buckload of shots. And lastly, Emperor's Children, Flawless Perfection. Unit with this trait always fight first in the fight phase, even if they didn't charge. If an enemy unit that has charged or has similar ability, then you alternate choosing units, starting with the player whose turn took place. So yeah, the most important part of this Legion trait, I feel, is that it unlocks Noise Marines to be troops, which gives you a plethora of more options in terms of how you want to work out your troops. For instance, they're only a bit more expensive Chaos Space Marines, so you kind of like nudge towards choosing the Noise Marines in that one, or Cultists. Cultists are good for the points. The trait itself, I think, is pretty good. I could be wrong. You know, I don't rate it as highly as many people choose to rate it, because it's mainly a reactionary trait more than anything else. It means if an army is coming at you and it's mass charging or multiple characters charges, it means you can dictate how the battle is going to go. For instance, your opponent charges with, you know, orcs love to charge with characters and things. It does mean they're going to have to be very careful about where they're going to swing. Generally, you are putting out a few attacks, you know, 2 attacks piece, possibly 3 with chainswords. Means you can do a wee bit of damage, but generally I'd find that your like Demon Princes are going to find this a lot more advantageous. Basically, so that if they charge with loads and want to go this unit attacks, this unit attacks, you can certainly swing the combat by going, well, you have to attack from a Demon Prince because otherwise he's going to wreck you first. But you can't complain when it comes to Noise Marines as well, because they can have possibly a plethora of attacks as well. Psychic abilities. Simply put, Psychic is okay for Noise Marines. Don't get me wrong, there is particularly deadly few stratagems which, when combined with these, can be absolutely brutal. So Prescience, Warp Charge 7, if manifested, select a Heretic Stash unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. You can add 1 hit rolls for the unit until the start of the next Psychic phase. So yeah, this is going to make these guys hit a bit more reliably. You know, if you've got a big unit of 20 and cast Prescience, it's going to add a few more shots to the bag. Make those Blast Masters hit more reliably is all very important as well. Overall, it depends on your force, however, combined with another stratagem, as I keep hinting at, this can be devastating. But we'll get to that shortly. In combat, also not so bad, because you do have a fair few attacks as well. So yeah, not bad, you know, alright, they are decent units to think about. It really depends on how you've sort of geared them at the beginning of the game to really get the most out of this one. Delightful Agonies, Warp Charge 6, Mark of Slaanesh only. If manifested, select a visible Slaanesh Heretic Stash unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. Until the start of your next Psychic phase, roll a d6 each time a model in that unit loses a wound. On a 5+, it does not lose that wound. So probably the best survival spell, I think, out of the lot of them. It does mean that 1/3 of the wounds suffered are going to get ignored, and just mean that, you know, you're going to be more in the fight. Just watch out for multiple damage stuff. In cover, this means that this unit is going to be a lot harder to bring down. So here we go, something I've been, you know, hinting at this whole time is stratagems is where this unit really begins to shine. To begin this sort of combination, let's talk about Veterans of Long War. You know, big staple towards Chaos Space Marines. Cost 1 command point, use a stratagem when a Heretic Stars, infantry or biker unit is selected to attack in the shooting or fight phase, excluding units from Renegade chapters. You can add 1 to all wound rolls for this unit until the end of the phase. So this is the beginning of a pretty kick-ass combo. It's going to cause a fair bit of damage. So for 1 command point, you're going to be adding +1 to your wound rolls. And with Mass Sonic and Blastmasters and say a 20-man unit of Noise Marines, it's going to be devastating. If all were armed with Sonic Blasters, this means that you're getting 60 shots that anything with toughness of 4 or less, you're wounding on 3s, even I think like toughness 2, which there's not many things, is going to be 2s to wound, but even 3s to wound is going to add a bucket load of dice. Things that are toughness 5 to 7, you're still going to be wounding on 4s, which if you're taking a 20-man squad, 60 shots is terrifying. You know, that really will help some of the harder units have to take saves. Something to be said if, like, for instance, you're needing to open up a Rhino, 1 command point with that bucket load of dice may not open it, but will significantly weaken it, and maybe those Blastmasters can finish it off. However, combine it with the following. Endless Cacophony, Slaanesh only. Cost 2 command points. Use a stratagem at the end of your shooting phase. Select a Heretic Status Slaanesh infantry or biker unit. That unit can immediately shoot again. So this is where, you know, this unit, you know, goes big or goes home. Being able to fire again with hopefully the same benefits as before can be devastating. A 20-man squad, all armed with Sonic Blasters. I'm just saying all Sonic Blasters at the moment. You know, after the second round of shooting is put out, if my math comes out right, that's like 120 shots, 3 shots a piece, times 2 is 6, times 20 is 120 shots within a 24 area bubble. Add in Veterans of Long War for +1 to wound, add in Prescience to +1 to hit, add in a Lord for maybe, you know, reroll those 1s to hit, and just about any infantry that your opponent has fielded is going to be toast. I mean, it's going to be so many wounds that they have to survive. Maybe not ideal things with 2-up saves, but just about anything else, any hordes are just going to be eviscerated, which is going to be pretty nice, you know. Only thing I'd say, you know, if your opponent, I don't know, if they're orcs and they bring like a mech with a custom force field, you know, then they're going to get a fair bit of saves on that one. But hey, still 120 dice with shooting is awesome and something I would like to see more of. So I've not had a chance to really use this one yet, but 120 dice is pretty awesome. You know, one thing I'd say in this one is this edition is maybe not so kind to big units of expensive models. So, you know, obviously we've got horde units such as demons, orcs and say, you know, Astra Militarum, you know, they don't mind going in big units because they've got ways of round morale if possible, and they don't mind a few extra boys dying. However, take a 20-man squad of this, just hope your opponent doesn't target them with everything they've got, because it will see their death and you'll pay quite a bit of points. But oh man, you know, 120 dice, just drinking opponents' tears is basically, you know, big blob of units they may have had, just absolutely disappears. It is really a combination I want to try and sneak in at one point, you know, but we'll see in the future. Last stratagem I'd probably go with is let the Galaxy burn Black Legion stratagem only, 1 command point. Use this stratagem when a Black Legion infantry or biker unit is selected to attack in the shooting or fight phase. You can reroll all hit rolls of 1 for that unit until for the rest of the phase. If the unit is Chaos Spaceman squad, you can reroll all failed hit rolls for it instead. Great stratagem, as I've pointed out, you know, it's Black Legion only, so that means you can still Endless Cacophony, you can still Veterans of the Long War, you can still Prescience, you can still do all that stuff. It's just basically if you do not have a Chaos Lord to give that reroll once, that 120 dice, activate this, and you can still reroll as if there was a Chaos Lord nearby for 1 command point. Problem is you have to go Black Legions to do so, which is not ideal, because I'm not a big fan of Black Legions. So yeah, that is my thoughts on Noise Marines. Generally I think they're not bad for a power armour unit. 3 shots in shooting will help sort of lightly armed units suffer damage. And then if you want to go big and do a 20-man squad with all the dice, I would love to see if anyone has actually successfully done it and what did they destroy when doing so. Please tell me your stories on it. I'll give it a try at some point. However, we have quite a few Noise Marines, but not too many at the moment. So it will be something I'll need to consider in a future battle report. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one as well. Generally, Slaanesh has got quite good positive reviews in terms of the Chaos Spaceman Codex, and Noise Marines certainly have got a bit of an advantage on that one as well in terms of some of their loadouts. So yeah, they can do quite well. So thanks again for watching, guys. Please comment, share, like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought on Noise Marines. And check us out on social media and on our Patreon channel stuff as well. You can see all the projects we are working at the moment. So thanks again, and we'll see you on another Tabletop Assault Battle Report.